Hello, this video is for IXL, activity 8.F.22. It is titled Cube Roots of Positive and Negative Perfect Cubes. The 3-character code for this activity is Juliet 7 Kilo. So, first question is, what is the cubed root of 8? And then also we have, what is the cubed root of negative 8? Well, the answer is somewhat similar, but not exactly the same. We know from previous activities that we've done that whenever we're talking about the cubed root of a number, that in this case, this number that's underneath this radical symbol, this little division looking check mark thing here is a radical symbol. The 3 is in the place of what we call the index. And the number that's underneath the radical symbol is called the radicand. So the radicand represents the number of cubic units that there would be in a cube. So we're talking about a cube with 8 units in it. So with that said, if we think about a cube, and let's go ahead and picture a cube here and see if I can do my best to draw one. So if this cube had 8 units in it, what would have to be the length of the sides? That is to say, the width, the length, and the height. Remember that for a cube, all of these values are the same. Well, in this case, it's going to be 2, 2, and 2. Because 2 times 2 times 2 equals 8. 2 times 2 is 4. Bring down the other 2. Let me undo that a little bit. There we go. And 2 times 4 is 8. So 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. In this case, it's a positive 8. Now, we're talking about the other question here. What is the cube root of negative 8? Now, here's the tricky part about it. Because if I have what is the cubed root of negative 8, right? We can't really say that we're talking about a cube that has negative 8 cubic units in it. So we really can't apply that concept to it. I can't tell you to go, would you go to the store and get me negative 8 cubes of sugar, right? You can't get a negative number of cubic units. However, we still can find a number that when multiplied times itself 3 times is going to give us a negative 8. And it is kind of related to the other question. So let's try negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 and see what happens whenever we do this. Well, negative 2 times negative 2, well, negative times negative is a positive, and 2 times 2 is 4. Now, if we multiply that times negative 2, we end up with 4 times 2 is 8, and a positive times negative equals a negative. So we would see that negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 is going to be negative 8. So in this case, the cube root of negative 8 is going to equal negative 2. And I just realized over here, I meant to write 2. There we go. So the cubed root of 8 is positive 2, and the cubed root of negative 8 is negative 2. So you see that the answers are somewhat similar. Actually, they're opposites of one another. And likewise, 8 and negative 8 are opposites of each other as well. Let's look at another example. Cubed root of 125. Well, I've been doing cube roots for a while, and hopefully you have too. So you're thinking that, okay, 5 times 5 times 5 should equal 125. Therefore, the cubed root of 125 should be 5. And we can verify that. 5 times 5 is 25. Bring down the times 5. And 25 times 5 is 125. So the cubed root of 125 is indeed 5. So does that mean that the cubed root of negative 125 is negative 5? Let's go ahead and check that out. Negative 5 times negative 5 times negative 5. What does this equal? Well, negative 5 times negative 5 is a positive 25. Let's bring down the negative 5 that we have here, right? And now 25 times 5 is 125. And a positive times negative equals a negative. So indeed, negative 5 times negative 5 times negative 5 equals negative 125, which is indeed our radicand. That is to say, the number that's underneath the radical symbol. What about cubed root of 64? Well, again, been doing these a while, so I believe 4 times 4 times 4 equals 64. Is this the case? 4 times 4 is 16. Bring down this 4, and 16 times 4 indeed is 64. So the cubed root of 64 is 4. So therefore, is the cubed root of negative 64 negative 4? Let's check that out. negative 4 times negative 4 times negative 4. Hopefully you're noticing a pattern developing here. Negative times negative is positive. 4 times 4 is 16. Let's multiply that times the negative 4 we bring down from up here. And negative times negative, or positive times negative is negative. 16 times 4 indeed is 64. So negative 64 is the product of negative 4 times negative 4 times negative 4. Therefore, negative 4 is the cubed root of negative 64. What about the cubed root of negative 1? Hopefully you're saying it's negative 1. Right? Cubed root of negative 1. Well, we know negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1. Because remember, the cubed root of 1 equals 1. So therefore, the cubed root of negative 1, we're assuming, equals negative 1. In this case, negative times negative is positive. 1 times 1 is 1. Multiply that times negative 1. Positive times negative is negative. 1 times 1 is 1. So indeed, negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1 equals negative 1. Cubed root of 0. So cubed root of 0. Well, we can't really have negative 0, right? 0 is not really positive. It's not really negative. So cubed root of 0 is still 0. 0 times 0 times 0 equals 0. So cubed root of 0 is indeed 0. Cubed root of 729. Well, this one's kind of big. In other activities before, we talked about maybe using a calculator or possibly using guess and check. We also talked about consulting a list of perfect cubes. And from previous activities, I remember what this answer is, but let's work at this a different way. Let's look at, what if I did 5 cubed? I know this is 125. And if I did 10 cubed, well, that's 10 times 10 is 100, times 10 is 1,000, or it's actually a 1 with 3 zeros, right? So 1 with the same number of zeros as the exponent. In this case, the exponent is 3 because we're cubing it. Well, 729 isn't anywhere close to 125, but it's less than 1,000, so 729. And we know these are perfect cubes because the title of the activity is cubed roots of positive and negative perfect squares. So we know that it's going to be a whole number. So let's try 9 cubed, see how that works out. So we have 9 times 9. It's going to give us 81. So there's 2 of the 9s. Now let's take 81, multiply that times 9. And 9 times 1 is 9. And 9 times 8 is 72. And indeed, we see that 9 times 9 times 9 equals 729. Therefore, the cubed root of 729 is 9. So, if negative 729 is the opposite of positive 729, then its cubed root is going to be the opposite likewise. So we have positive 9 here, so this is going to be negative 9 there. We can calculate that out. Negative 9 times negative 9 times negative 9. 9 times 9 is 81. Negative times negative is positive. Multiply that by that negative 9 we bring down. And we see here 81 times 9 is 729. And positive times negative is negative. So those are all my examples for this activity. I want to point out that just remember that doing the cubed roots of negative numbers is pretty much the same as doing the cube roots of their opposites, so that is to say positive numbers. It just so happens to be that the cube root of a negative number happens to be negative. All right? So that's all I have for IXL 8.F.22, cube roots of positive and negative perfect cubes. Good luck with your activity.